My name is Evan Capnose. My identity has been foreclosed.
You are in a stalemate, Mr. Capnose. Until the auction.
Well, it's really nice to finally see some new games coming to Switch. We've had a lot of port announcements, but having something new is always a treat, and thanks to Merge Games, they wanted us to tell you all about their new game Foreclosed, which looks very interesting. So we're going to go over all of the details about the game, the things that we find really interesting that you might want to know, to hopefully give you an idea of what it's all about. It's been a bit of a mystery, this one. You can pre-order the game right now. There is a 20% discount prior to launch, and I believe that goes on until launch day. But let's go over the main aspects of the game then and what it entails to give you some idea before launch. I'll pop links in the top pinned comment. What exactly is Foreclosed and what are its best features? Well, let's find out. Initially, I wasn't entirely sure what type of game Foreclosed was. Was it a graphic novel? Was it an action game? Or was it a shooter? And actually, it's a bit of a mixture of all of these, but it ties it all together using a very interesting comic book style element. Very often you'll move from one screen to the other and the transition will be shown in another box. Onomatopoeic words will be shown on screen, such as the sound effect of your weapon or other noises within the environment. This comic book element often changes the perspective of the camera, which can instantly switch it from a third person behind the player controlled game to an above, top down or isometric view. It's been used both as a gameplay and narrative device here, and certainly captures the feeling of an old comic book.
You stop resisting.
I don't want to spoil the narrative, but every character is voice acted, but there's a heavy emphasis on the importance, or lack thereof, that the government place upon the individual liberties of one man. And let's just say the developers took their own life experiences when they crafted the story of the game. We don't want to get them into trouble. Before we go over some of the powers and abilities that the main character has in the game, let's look at the performance. Foreclosed has a very interesting art style, which belies quite a lot of detail. But thankfully performance seems to be decent across the board. There are times when it seems to hit 60 FPS, but for the most part it's 30 plus, and that's the same in handheld as well, with text size being legible. Coming from a small indie team, it is nice to see that they've managed to keep the performance okay. So how about the gameplay itself then? How does that work? Well, as I said in the previous segment, the comic book style gives it a shifting gameplay mechanic, whereby sometimes you'll be behind the character. In these times, it will be either an adventure style game where you'll be wandering around, interacting with machines, or it may be a shooter. In the shooting segments, in terms of gameplay, it reminds me a little bit of the early Mass Effect game. You'll have a number of augmentations and powers, as well as your main weapon. The augmentations can be pinned to different buttons on the controller, such as levitating the enemies into the air and slamming them down into the ground. And you'll also have a number of weapon modifications that can be applied Crisis style on the fly. As well as the shooting and the adventure segments, there's a heavy emphasis on stealth here. I've been channeling my inner Metal Gear Solid, crawling through vents, hiding from enemies, and doing silent takedowns by hacking their brain. You'll be dodging drones and you can do a nifty roll to evade the enemy. Other gameplay aspects include hacking panels, the previously mentioned shooting, which feels quite old school, and it's all tied together with an original musical score. There was one particular moment where I entered a club where, with a good sound system, you're certainly going to have a bit of Katana Zero / Akane vibes. Now, as far as the game length goes, it isn't the longest game ever. You're looking at around about 4 or 5 hours to complete it, which for some, judging by some of the comments, is going to be absolutely a great thing, as time and backlog seem to wait for no one. Foreclosed will set you back £11.99 with its current 20% discount, but the usual price is $14.99. There's also a physical available, which is nice on an indie title, and that obviously comes from Merge Games and Antab Studio. If you are going digitally, then it has a download of 1 gig, and that's as much as we can tell you right now. Now do remember, this is a preview of the game, and hopefully it will give you a bit more of an idea about it if you were considering going for the pre-order, but it is not a full review. Do let us know what you thought about it in the comments. We'll be giving away some codes, and I'll pop links to the game in the top pinned comment as well. Thanks to Merge and the developers, and to all of you who watch the channel, and obviously to our patrons who support us each and every month. If you want to join them, the links will all be down in the description. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!